Good afternoon, everybody. Welcome to Effective Resume Thursday. It is June 1st, 2023. Hard to believe we're 5 months into the year. Please note that this event is being recorded. It's currently live on Facebook. The recording will be on the Career DFW Facebook page and the Career USA YouTube channel for others to view in the future. By participating in this event, you give consent for your name and picture to appear. Please note that any comments you put in the Zoom chat window will not appear in the recording. For those people on Zoom, if you have any questions, please just enter your questions into the chat window. For those watching on Facebook, please any questions you have into the comment field. We're monitoring both feeds. We'll be sure to get those questions answered for you. Also, for those on Zoom, if you'd like to make contact with everybody else who's on the call today, please feel free just to put your information in, put in your name, position you're looking for, a couple target companies, put in your LinkedIn profile. This is just a great way for you to be able to connect with other people who are on the call. We will review 1 or 2 resumes today live at the end of the session. If you'd like to submit your resume, use the chat window, click on the little file piece of paper there, and send it to Jeff Morse Host. There's 2 Jeff Morse. Make sure you send it to Jeff Morse Host, and I'll get it. And if you want us to look at your resume, we'll be glad to do that at the end of this presentation. Also, if you'd like to delete your header information, please do so, because it will be out there on Facebook and YouTube. All right, good afternoon, everybody. My name is Jeff Morse. Back in 2008, I started a website called careerdfw.org, a website to help those unemployed in the Dallas-Fort Worth area. I launched a second website, careerusa.org, in 2012. I have written a book called What I've Learned About Your Job Search You May Not Know. It is available on Amazon. Since 2007, I've been facilitating and leading the North Dallas Plano Career Focus Group. I'll tell you about our program that we're having tomorrow morning at the end of this session. And since 2017, I've been a member of the Practice Interview team. Remember, your resume, your LinkedIn profile isn't going to get you a job. What it will get you is a phone call. How well you practice your interviewing skills, that's what's going to get you your next job. So for more information, go to dallaspickroo.com, and all the details are there and what you can do and how to sign up. All right, let me switch presentations here. Give me a second. All right, so what we're going to do today is we're going to talk a little bit about the ATS system. We're going to talk about a 1-page bio. We're going to talk about a master resume, which I think everybody should have. We're going to talk about the key components of a resume. And then if we have time at the end, we'll look at some sample resumes if anybody has one they'd like to show us. All right, well, what I want to do first is I want to talk about some basic resume writing rules that will put you ahead of the competition. This is from the manager of the Coach Connection at the Muse, which is a website for career research. So her #1 tip is you've got to make sure you avoid any spelling or grammatical errors. Very, very important. You've got to make sure you watch your tenses. You've got to know that if you're currently at a job, it can be current tense, but any past job you've had, you can't say you analyze these items. You analyzed with a D on it. You've got to put it in past tense. You know, recruiters, when they're going through resumes, they have a pile of resumes. Whatever they can do to pitch one out, that's what they're going to do. So you've got to make sure that all this stuff is great. If possible, send your resume as a PDF. If you're ever sending a resume to an individual, always send it as a PDF, because that way, however you think it should be sent, what it's formatted as is what they're going to see. You've got to remember that everybody has a different kind of printer. I did this experiment many years ago at the North Dallas group. I had everybody send me their resumes, and 35 people sent me their Word document or Pages document, and every one of them looked different than what they expected to see. Only the people who sent them as a PDF got to see their resume exactly as intended. Make sure your resume is easy to read. You don't want a lot of text. You don't want, you want to make it easy. You want to tell them what it is you need to know. You want to have decent borders, decent areas around the edges. Just, Make it easy. When you look at a resume and you see a resume that's full of type and it's, half-inch margins top and bottom, and it's just all this text, it's too much. People are not going to read it. Make it easy. Number 5, quantify as much as possible. This is very, very, very important. You've got to make sure that your resume has results. I need to hire someone to fix a situation, to fix a problem. If I can see in your resume that you have done that you show some results, that you fix these things, I'm more likely to call you up. All right, number 6, drop the name, name drop and title drop. If you're communicating with somebody at a company because you've already had an information interview, if you know somebody at the company, name drop. Put that in the cover letter. I was talking with so-and-so, the vice president of operations. We'd love to have an opportunity to talk. If you can, mention those things because it will, perk somebody's email, their eyes open. You've got to be sure to use your judgment when it comes to creativity. People are used to seeing a resume in a standard format. If you go out to Microsoft Word or you do go out to Google, you're going to see there's hundreds of templates for resumes. Don't use them. Use the standard template. We're going to share one with you today. I'll show you what we have. Use that because recruiters are zipping through stuff and they're used to seeing the same kind of thing. You do not need to list everything you've ever done. I'm sure everybody here has done a lot of really great things, but you only need to tell them on a resume what they're asking for. The object is whatever they ask for in a job description, you want to make sure you match in the resume because you want them to call you up. Now, when they call you up and they start asking you questions, then you can tell them about other things you've done if it relates to the job. Think about the person reading your resume. There's a very good chance that this person who's screening resumes for a company could be in their early 20s. This could be their first job out of school. They don't even know really what the company does. They were given a job description and they said, hey, find me 10 people who can do this. And so out they go looking. And so all they know is what's on that job description. That's why it's important that you try to match those kinds of information. Make it easy for the recruiter to go, yeah, this looks like a match, and be able to send it on to the hiring manager. And then number 10, think about specific jobs, about the specific job that you're applying to. Just be aware that you've got to customize your resume. You've got to tell them what they want to know about the job that they're asking about. That's just very, very, very important. All right, so let's talk a little bit about the resume versus a one-page bio. Personally, I think everybody needs to have a one-page bio. Personally, I think that's the document that you use more than you use a resume. The reason being is when you send a resume out to somebody, it goes, help me, help me, help me, I'm looking for a job. Now, you send a resume to a hiring manager, you send a resume to somebody in HR, but if you're networking with people, if you're doing informational interviews, the one-page bio is an extremely effective tool because it just tells people what it is you've done and how you can maybe help people, what you've done in the past, okay? The resume focuses on work history detail. The bio focuses on major accomplishments. What are your biggest things that you're proud of? What can you tell a really great story about? A resume is primarily a job search tool. When else do you use a resume? You don't use it any other place except to look for a job. But a bio can be used if you're speaking someplace, if you're a public speaker, if you're talking with, doing information interviews, if you're trying to network into a company. I think it's a much more effective tool. And I'll show you here. We've got a couple bios that I'm going to show you. So here's a one-page bio. Name is at the very, very top. They've listed in there a couple of things that they do right underneath their picture. They've got a quickie, brief background. They've got their professional biography, just listing their companies and the dates that they worked there, not even job titles. So just the name of the company and what they did, or the dates. They list their education, and then over on the right-hand side, their contact information right up at top, make it easy. And then underneath that, professional achievements and successes. And that way, the person can sort of see those high-level things that you're the most proud of. Now, here's another bio. Horizontal, vertical, it doesn't really make any difference, okay? But, got the name on there, phone number, email address right up in a box, or competencies. So here they've listed competencies over on the very left, their professional achievements in the middle, professional biography, companies they worked for. The difference on this one is this lists target functions and target companies on the very right-hand side. Now, target functions are great because you're trying to have people help you find a job in one of these kinds of position. But the target company ones, you've got to be very careful about. Think about it. If you sent this to somebody at Coca-Cola and they looked at that and went, well, you don't even have us listed as your target company. You've got PepsiCo listed as #1. That's not going to work very well. So you really want to make sure that, if you're sending this out to, companies, or to, people who work at companies, make sure their company name's at the very top. Now, if you're just sending this out to friends and family, and maybe some professional contacts who you have known over the years, that would be fine, because you're then telling them, here are companies I'm looking for. But be very careful about that, depending on who's receiving the one-page bio. In the chat window, I'm going to go ahead and post a couple bios. I've got both these bios that I can put out to everybody. So give me just a second here to post these. Okay, so I just sent those 2 bios out for everybody. You can download those. If you can't download them, at the end of this presentation, I'll give you an email address where you can send me an email and I'll send those to you. All right. There's a great book about the one-page bios. I highly recommend this book. It's one of the 3 or 4 books that I think everybody should have in their job search. This one's called Be Sharp. It's by Minna Brown. You see her bio over there on the very right-hand side. Now, her bio is very fancy because besides being an executive coach, she's an author. She's written several books. She's a public speaker. She gets hired to speak at big conventions. And she's an expert coach trainer. So she trains coaches in the future. So this isn't much an ad slick for her as it is what as a bio looking for a job. She's not looking for a job. She's looking for new clients and customers. But this book is great. Be sure if you get the second edition. It is on Amazon for like 17, 18 bucks, I believe. And if you have Amazon Prime, you may be able to download it free on a Kindle, if I'm not mistaken. But the nice thing about the book is in the second half of the book, there's probably 30 different bios, different formats, different layouts. I just think it's a really, really great book because I think everybody should have a bio. You'll find a lot of bios out on the internet. There's no right or wrong bio. There's no standard format, but it's just a matter of, I think it's an extremely effective tool when you're networking. All right, so let's talk about a master resume. Make your job search easy. Take a couple hours and go through and make a master resume with everything you've done since you graduated college. Include anything in college if it's relevant to what you did. Addresses, supervisors' names, 8 or 10 bullet points under each, what were your major accomplishments at each job. List all that. It can be 10 or 15 pages long. The nice thing about that document is that once you have it, you can then use it to apply for a job very easily, because you can take that master resume, save it as however you save your naming convention for stuff, and then eliminate everything that's not important. If it's not on the job description, don't put it on your resume, because you're just confusing them. You're making it harder for them to see exactly what it is you've done. So this is an easy way. And once you've got it done, every 6 months, maybe you go through, you update it. Once you're working, you go through, you add a couple bullet points of some major accomplishments you've done, but the document's always there. Now, in most cases, you're never going to publicize that master resume. But there are a couple cases where people are going to want it. If you're applying for an education job, they want to see everything you've ever done. If you're applying for a government job, they want to know everything you've ever done. Now, they don't need to see supervisors' names and phone numbers and that kind of addresses, but they're going to want to know all the detail. But once you have that document, you can answer any question quickly as far as what you've done. I know I have a file folder of old resumes back to the 1980s when I first got a job. Back in the 1980s, you had to type up your resume. You took it to PI, a printing company. They print you off a nice one-page resume on some nice paper stock. And, every time you wanted to change your resume, you had to go and have it reprinted, unless you're sitting there and typing it from scratch. So take those documents, put them all together, put them into one master resume. That way you're ready to go for anything in the future. All right, so let's talk about some characteristics of a good resume. The goal of your resume, and we're primarily talking here about the ATS system, the applicant tracking system, is for the ATS system and a job screener to determine that you're a good match. How are you going to do that? A couple ways. Number one, you're going to talk about formatting. We're going to talk about each one of these categories, what the formatting should be. Number two, what the overall length should be. All right. For the most part, if you're a recent graduate, one page can do it. If you've had more than 10 years experience, probably 2 pages will do it. If you've had 20 or 30 years of experience, you could go 2.5 or 3 pages, but remember, only stick to whatever the details are of what they're asking for in the job description, okay? Because you don't want to confuse them with other things. You can always talk about those other things. And then the last thing is, how many years experience do you put on here? And this is a discussion point that happens all the time. So if I can, in the chat window, I want you to select A, B, or C. And in the comment field for those on Facebook, put down A, B, or C. So do you think that for the number of years you should show all of your experience? Should you show only the most recent 10 to 15 years experience? Or C, show details about the most recent 10 to 15 years plus a section called prior relevant experience. So let me give everybody a chance to go through and fill that out, or give me a question A, B, C, and then we will proceed. All right, looking through here. Well, it looks like everybody has picked C. I don't think there's any wrong or right answer here. I think C is probably the answer that I would use. In some situations, like I said, if you're applying for an education or government job, they want to see A. They want to see everything you've ever done. They want it all spelled out because that's just what they do in education and government. For B, show only most recent 10 to 15 years. The problem with that is you can't really tell any star stories from a prior job, because if you had a job 20 years ago and you start to tell the start story, well, back when I worked at company X, and the recruiter's going or the hiring manager's going, company X, I don't even see company X listed here on the resume you gave me. Oh yeah, well, I did that before. That confuses them. That they then think that you're maybe hiding something. So I personally like, most recent 10 to 15 years, and then a section called prior relevant experience. I'll show you what that looks like in just a second here on a resume. All right, what fonts? So now I'm going to talk a little bit about formatting for your resume, fonts for your resume, just some other formatting things. All right, these are the fonts that I like: Arial, Calibri, Tacoma, and Helvetica. The reason I like these fonts is because they're plain, they're easy to read, okay? The next 4 fonts, Times New Roman, Garamond, Cambria, if you notice, those fonts have serifs on it, which are the little tick marks on the T and the C, and they've got little things. They're not as easy to read. It's a little harder to read that kind of document. So I highly recommend use those first 4 fonts. Make it very, very easy. And then don't use anything fancy. No wingdings. You don't have to put any little telephones, no little houses for your home address. Don't do any of that because a lot of ATS systems, they can't handle this kind of stuff. The next thing is margins. Your margins should be 1 inch top, bottom, right, and left. The reason being, you need to leave some space. As I mentioned before, if you have 1/2 inch margins or even less, and you pack that with so much text, it's overwhelming for somebody. You want to make it easy for them to see what you've done, where you've done it, and how you can help them. Bullets, the only bullet you should use is the bullet you see here on the screen, just a little round circle. Don't use any check marks, don't use any little dashes, any little arrows. This bullet is fine, that's about it, okay? You can bold a few things if you'd like, and we'll show you in our resume, we have a few things that are bolded. You can underline things, but use that very sparingly, and very sparingly use italicized because too much of it, once again, it starts to make things look a little bit weird. It's not those plain, easy fonts. Do not use any text boxes. No headers, no footers, no templates, no shadows, and no graphics. And here's the reason why. There are over 300, and I've heard the numbers almost 1,000 different ATS systems out there. Now, there's 5 major ones that everybody uses, but you know, that the big companies use. But I know there's over 300 different ATS systems out there. Each one is different. Each one can handle different things. Okay, so some can handle fancy bullets, but many can't. Some could handle a header. Most will not. I've heard from recruiters over and over again where people have applied for a job online. It looked like a perfect resume, but then there was no header information. They had no way to contact the person because they put their information in the header. So just don't do that, okay? All right, what do you want to do if you want to fill a gap? Let's say you haven't worked in, 3 or 4 years. Maybe you're taking care of a spouse, a sick spouse, a sick parent or something. What have you done? So there's a couple of things you can do. If you've had any continuing education, if you've gone back to school, make a job title called continuing education. Do one called consulting if you've done that. Now, if you're doing consulting, you don't want to list project A, project B, project C, project D as different jobs, because when you do that, the first person I'm going to think is, wait, job hopper, only there for 3 months, only there for 6 months, But by putting a category called consulting, then underneath that for the bullet points, you can list the different jobs that you've had all under that one field. The very top one there, community leadership. This is a great way to show of things you've done to give back, volunteering in the community. And then you want to be sure to add a few bullets to describe your work, such as consulting work you've done, even if it's pro bono for a nonprofit organization, any volunteer work, any leadership you've done. Companies love to see where you're volunteering at, because a lot of companies, they have a big volunteer program. And if you received any certifications. I interviewed a candidate a couple of weeks ago at the practice interview team, and he had like a 1.5 year gap. And I asked him, what have you been doing the last 1.5 years? Oh, well, he got 4 different certifications, and he listed them off, what he did and what it took to get. And it was like, perfect. I mean, he just didn't sit at home and watch Oprah all day or watch Ellen. So, he actually was doing things and improving, and it was certificates that helped him in his job career. So here's an example on a resume, something you can do. Community leadership and consulting, served as a panelist and a coach for the Dallas practice interview team to help job seekers with their interviewing skills. Provided consulting service to a local nonprofit organization on how to prepare and conduct job interviews and how to evaluate candidates. Now, this local nonprofit happened to be this lady's church, okay? But she didn't want to mention the church because some things you just don't want to mention. You don't want to mention religion and politics in most cases. So by just saying it was a local nonprofit, that sufficed in exactly what she needed to show. Okay, so here are the key components of a resume. You've got to have a header, you've got to have a summary, a key accomplishment area, which is an optional field, your professional experience, prior relevant experience, which is optional, but I highly recommend it if you've been working more than 20 years. You've got to list education and then software skills. Now, you don't want to put education at the very top or at the, like in your summary, unless you just got your MBA, unless you just got something, you just got your PhD in, supply chain, whatever. You keep all that kind of stuff at the very, very bottom, education and software. Okay, so let's talk about the header. And this form, this resume here, I'm going to pop this resume into the chat window in just a second. So you can download this. And once again, if you can't download it, just email me and I'll give you an email address at the end that you can send me and I'll send these documents to you. All right, in the header, your name. Use the name you want to be called. Use the name that's on your LinkedIn profile. Keep it consistent, okay? Now, if you have a very hard to pronounce first or last name, in parentheses, put the phonetic spelling. Make it easy for me to go, I don't know how to pronounce that name. Well, I'm not going to call that person because I can't pronounce it, even though you had a great resume. But if you help me out, you make it easy for me. If you do have a, if your name is X, but you like to be called Y, you can put that in parentheses too. So that way, I want to make it easy. So I call you what you want to be called. You got to have your phone number. If you don't, you got to list your phone number. You need to put a city, state, and zip. You do not need to list your physical address. Okay. But a lot of recruiters, a lot of systems, they'll search by zip code. Find me somebody within 25 miles of the zip code, because they figure most people don't want to drive more than an hour to go to work every day. You want your email address and you want your LinkedIn address. Make it easy for them to be able to find you and contact you. Now, you want to remove the hyperlinks. If you notice, neither of these are in blue and they're not underlined. The reason being, some ATS systems won't recognize anything that's underlined like that. Okay, that's why I say you really shouldn't underline things. So you want to remove the hyperlink. You do a right click on the email address or the LinkedIn, and to very scroll down, it'll say remove hyperlink. So by doing that, they can go highlight it, copy it, and paste it in if they need to, to be able to do something, but it won't mess things up. Think about it if you have a Gmail account, that G goes down below the line and would be interfering with the line. So the system may or may not be able to recognize exactly what that is. So that's why we don't like any hyperlinks in the header. Page, great comment. That's why I like to use the audio recording option on LinkedIn. Remember, for those people on LinkedIn, everybody here should be on LinkedIn. When you're on LinkedIn, if you're using the mobile application, and this only works with the mobile app, you can actually record your name, and up right next to your name will be a little speaker symbol will pop up, and you can make it very easy for people to hear how your name is pronounced. But once again, like I said, make it easy. Go ahead and put in parentheses, put the phonetic spelling to make it easy for them to see it. If you're using a PC or Mac, you won't be able to get to that option. Only if you use the mobile app of LinkedIn can you do that. And it's a great way to do things. Thank you, Paige, for that information. If you type in your last name, we'll see how hard it is, see how I'll slaughter it for you. All right, the summary, the profile. Your summary statement is not an objective. It's not what you are looking for in a job. A summary statement is what you can do for them, okay? Remember this in job search. They need to hire somebody because they have a problem. They need somebody to increase sales. They need somebody to answer the phone. They need somebody to run the production line. They have an issue. They've got to hire somebody to fix a problem. What are you good at? You're a problem solver. Tell me what it is you've done. So this person is an innovative business analyst with a proven track record for documenting business requirements and communicating effectively, blah, blah, blah. You'll see here in a little bit, This person took a lot of keywords out of the job description and put it in the summary statement. The next area is be sure to include key areas of expertise. I think 9 is the magic number. 12 is too many, 15 is too many. You don't, unless you're a software engineer, any kind of software that you've used, you know, Microsoft Word, Excel, pivot tables, blah, 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 that all goes down at the very, very bottom underneath your education for under software skills. This should be your primary, what you're really, really good at. And you probably need to modify it for every application you fill out, every application, because every application, every job requirement, job description is going to have different areas of expertise that they're looking for. If you have it, you want to make sure that you put it on there because that will help with the keyword match. If I'm interviewing you and I ask you, what are your top 3 areas of expertise? It better be the top 3 on the list, or the top 3 on the left, or the 3 on the left, okay? Make sure that those are your top 3. If you go and tell me, oh, I'm really good at improving processes, developing test plans and customer-facing roles, it doesn't, make sure that the ones that are the most important to you are the ones that you list at the top. Or if you're ever in an interview and they ask you that, you want to make sure you quote the top 3 of the ones on the left. Okay, now this is an optional area, key accomplishments. This is usually used for people in sales and business development, because this is where they're going to show what they've really done to do things. My problem with this is, by doing this here, I don't know where you did it at. So it's fine. You may have had new sales opportunities of $250,000, but if you worked for a mega billion company, that was just really a drop in the bucket. So personally, if you do this, you've got to make sure that you also put these bullets underneath each of the jobs in your job description, in the job history section, because I need to be able to see where you did this at. To me, it's more important to know where you did it than just to see these little bullets right up here. All right, for a professional experience, number 1, make it in chronological order. I know some people use a functional resume. Most recruiters do not like functional resumes. They want to see what you've done, what the job is before that, and the job before that. That's what everybody's used to looking at. When you send somebody a functional resume, it sort of hides, it clutters up the weeds, and people go, I don't really know what's going on here. So be very careful with that. You want to make sure that you use parallel verbs. Now, we talked about this as those top 10 tips at the very beginning. Top 10, just those parallel verbs you got to be very careful about. So what we're talking about is that verb that you use at the beginning of a sentence, okay? Analyze, ensure, serve. So those are current text. Those are current verbs in the current job that the person currently has. Now, they do have a past tense one. They achieved a 50% improvement, okay? But that was a project that they did in the past, but it's still considered, this is proper. But any past job you've got to make sure that you use past tense because you're no longer doing it. Recruiters are looking for a reason to throw out your resume. They can have a couple hundred resumes on their desk or on the screen, and you're spending 7 to 10 seconds going, oop, there's a mistake. Oop, there's a mistake. And they put that in the no pile and they keep on going. So just very, very important. I think a good idea is to include a 1-line description of the company. I don't care how big the company is, but by putting a 1-line description, that will help me and the recruiter to know, well, where this company is in case they haven't heard of who they are, okay? I personally also like to add who I report it to. In a couple cases, I reported to the owner of the company, and I thought putting it on there, that helps show my level of my performance of where I was working at different companies. Oh yeah, so there's that 1 line for the description of the company. You want to make sure you limit your bullet points. We'll talk more about that in a second. 5, 6 bullet points at the most, I think, is all you need. And the farther down you go, older jobs, 3 to 4, 2 to 3, 1 or 2. as you go down, because you know, you're going to make them pertinent. If they're, you got to make sure they're pertinent to the job thing. And most importantly, you've got to focus on results. In 2 weeks, we've got a really dynamic speaker coming to talk to us about resumes. He's got a whole different little format. I really love what he talked about. I saw him do a presentation a couple weeks ago. And his whole thing is each one of your statements need to be 3 things. The first part of the statement is what you did, and then the words resulting in and the result. Every bullet point, what you did, resulting in, and the result. And by doing that, you're showing results. You're focusing on results, and that's what people want. I need somebody to fix X. I need to find somebody on their resume. Oh, they've done X. Oh, great. Well, I want to talk to that person and see if maybe they'll fit the bill. All right, for professional experience and more details here, limit your bullet points 5 to 6 bullet points per job. Your bullets should focus on results, and bullets should not sound like a job description, okay? You know, I see resumes all the time, and it looks like I'm reading a job description because you don't tell me what the results were. You don't tell me what you did to fix that problem, to solve that problem. You know, what was the details? You've got to have results. Very, very important. So one of the things we talk about, and I like this little game called the so what game, is, you know, take a bullet point, and this is somebody's bullet point, guide it next phase of brand evolution for a multimedia artist in managed film production and publishing. So what? Doesn't tell me any results. I don't know, well, you know, what you did. So we asked the person, so what? Oh, so what? Well, they answered, this increases business opportunities, which led to 10 new commissions for my client. Okay, so now I know you produced some results. So let's rewrite the answer, or rewrite the bullet point to say increased business opportunities, including 10 new commissions for my client based on developing a full social media and PR strategy. Okay, so that tells, so you got a result there. What you did. So I mean, even if you want to flip this around, I developed a full social media and PR strategy, resulting in increased business opportunities, including 10 new commissions for my client. Okay, so however you want to word it, but you know, I really sort of like this thing. And like I said, in 2 weeks, you're going to see all about this. What you did, resulting in, and the result. All right, what do you do if you have multiple roles at one company? You want to list the company name once with the full range of dates. So as you see at the very, very top there, Company B, City State, 2010 to 2014. Underneath it, little line just telling what the company did, Small Business Information Technology Consulting Firm. All right, so just one date over there on the very right-hand side. Then any dates that you've got for the specific role that you had, put that in parentheses right next to the title. If you were to put those 2012 to 2014 to 2010 to 2012 over to the right, and then you still had the 2010 to 2014 there, the first thing my eye goes is, oh, 2 years, 2 years. Oh, wait a second, this is 4 years. This doesn't add up. Okay, it could make you look like a job hopper. But by doing this, it shows that you progressed, or that you advanced, or you swapped jobs, you switched jobs at a company. Much more impressive by doing this than having all those dates off to the very right. What do you do if the company's changed names? Lots of companies change names. I hear new company names all the time I've never heard of. Very, very confusing. So here's 2 options. Number 1, give the current name of the company followed by the old name. XYZ Company, formerly ABC Company. Or you can give the old name of the company first with the date of the merger and acquisition. ABC Company acquired by XYZ in 2008. Use the name that's most famous, that most people will know. I met a guy a few years ago, and he had a name of a company I'd never heard of. And when I read down in his profile, read down to more of his resume, I could, you know, I asked a couple questions. He said, oh yeah, well, we're Campbell Soup. We produce the Super Campbell Soup. As they sold our division off, we still supply all the Campbell Soup. But yeah, we used to be Campbell Soup, and they changed the name, and they changed the name a second time. I said, well, then that's what you want to use. put down Campbell Soup, and then put in parentheses acquired by the name of this other company, which nobody's heard of, unless you're in the food business, then you maybe would have heard about it. But we've all heard of Campbell Soup because we've all had Campbell Soup, okay? So use whatever name is the most famous, what's going to help you the best. All right, education and software skills. You list the degrees that you have, the city, the school, and the state, city and state. You don't have to put the dates when you graduated. That's not important, but tell the truth. If you, make sure that you put down that you truly have that degree, and then list whatever software skills you have, and whatever. Those software skills, a lot of those, make sure that you pull the ones out of the job description and put it in there, because that will be a keyword search. Well, Jeff, I haven't used Visual Studio, or I haven't used Adobe Acrobat. Well, what you could do is you could list Canva, which is a software, another program like it, and parentheses, put down similar to Visual Studio or something like that. If you haven't used Microsoft Word, but you've used Pages, you could use Microsoft Word in parentheses, similar, or you put down Pages, parentheses, similar to Microsoft Word. So this is a way how you to do that keyword matching, how to match everything that you're doing. Now, if you don't have a degree, here's what I recommend. Write something like school, city, state, and then the area of major concentration and the number of hours that you've completed. Or you could even put after hour, X number of hours completed, due to graduate fall of 2024. Put that in there. Let us know that you're still doing it, okay? Don't lie about your education. If anybody remembers, Notre Dame hired a football coach about 5 or 6 years ago. 2 weeks later, they fired him because they found out he had embellished and lied about his education on his resume. People are going to find this kind of stuff out. They are going to look. All right, so let's talk about aligning your resume to the job description, okay? Over here on the left-hand side, you see a sample job description. On the right-hand side is somebody's resume. Now, of course, they've shortened it down to one page to make it easy so you can see things here. But they've taken a yellow highlighter, grab whatever color you like, and they've highlighted what they thought is important on the job description, okay? Then what they'll do is go over to the resume and go, do I have these things on my resume? Oh, I need to copy these things over, get them over there. So business analyst, put it right there as a job title. If that's what you're applying for, put that job title there if that's what you've done. If the job title says customer relationship specialist and your job description says customer service representative, change it to customer service representative, or to what they're doing, because it's the same kind of job title. Okay, similar job titles, put it on there. Now, if you've never done it, don't go and list things you haven't done. But here's what they've done is they put this into their summary statement and into the title. Okay, business requirements, it's in their summary statement. Improving processes, they've made it one of their areas of expertise. Cross-functional, dealing with everybody wants cross-functional help, getting different teams working together. Agile, Scrum, Visual Studio, making sure that all that information is on the resume and pulling those things out of the job description. Multiple sources, user manuals. So these are some of the key words that they're trying to match up to make sure that they're there. So I highly recommend get your job description, take it yellow, print it off, take a yellow highlighter of any color, highlight what you think is the most important, and then go, do I have those things on my resume? And if not, get them on your resume. All right, so let's remember, keywords are very, very important. The whole object here, and we're primarily talking about an ATS system, not when you're sending a resume directly to somebody in person. But when you're filling out an online application, how can you match to get the best kind of keyword match that are out there? Remember, resumes are scanned. The people in the HR department, they're probably only looking at a resume 7, 9, 11 seconds. Very, very short. It's a very short process, okay? The hiring manager will take the time to probably read your resume in more detail, but the initial person is just scanning to try to find 10 people to call up and see if these are worth sending on. Remember, a resume will not get you a job. Your LinkedIn profile will not get you a job. It will only get a phone call. Practice your interviewing skills, because that's what's going to get you your next job, how well you're able to answer those questions. Also, you never know why they called. Ask them, hey, thanks for calling. Hey, what was it on my resume that made you reach out? It could have been something you had on the second page, the third bullet point on the second page or something, that they're like, oh yeah, this is interesting, and we want to find out more about this, or this is something we're looking for. So ask them up front. The same in an interview. When you go to an interview, the first thing after you to tell me about yourself, you need to ask them, what was it, what will it be that will make me a success while I'm here? Find out what's important to them, and then you know what to talk about that's on there. Okay, let's see here, what do I have? All right, so let's take a look. Well, before I do that, let me stop sharing for a second. Any questions you have? I saw one person, I think, sent me a resume. Let me see. Not sure. Cancel. Click the download.
Hey, Jeff, I have a question.
Yes, go ahead.
So I'm looking at all these tips and I'd submitted my resume for a couple of jobs. I'm like, oh my God, I need to go fix the resume. What do you do if you've already sent it? You just, pray at this point and then, or do you resubmit it or change it up depending on the job if I haven't heard from the company yet?
Well, I don't know. Some ATS systems will allow you to modify and will allow you to update a resume. Some systems won't.
Okay.
And if you won't, there's really nothing you can do at that point.
But try, I guess the answer is try.
Yeah, I mean, go in and try if you can, because, you just got to be careful.
Right.
So, I do have one resume here somebody submitted, so let me, let's see here. Let me get it up online so we can show it to everybody. Thank you to the person who submitted their resume. Let's see here. Just going through here. All right, so here, my master resumes are great. They live 75252. My email is. So I once again would recommend that you remove the hyperlink, and right here, remove hyperlink, so that it's not, so the underline is gone, okay? Because some ATS systems won't handle it. Like, I don't know why your phone number has a hyperlink, but I would always try to remove any hyperlinks that you can, because it just makes things, you never know with an ATS system if they can handle it or not. All right, business operation leader. Hopefully this is, all right, so this is a master resume. This is everything they've ever done. So it's not, they would cut this down to fit. A couple things, and we really didn't talk about this, is you want this summary statement should be 3 sentences or less. People will not read a big block of text, okay? So if you can cut, it's fine on your master resume, but you should eliminate things that are not important for a job description and try to cut it down to 3 lines. People scan 3 lines. They're not going to read 5, 6, 7, 8 lines. They don't want to read a novel. All right, so these are some of their key accomplishments. Professional experience. So see what happens here. So this person sent me a Word document, and look what happened to the date. Okay, because my printer is a little bit different than theirs. Here we go. Tab. Oop. Okay. So, by doing that, you just got to be aware. That's why you don't want to send a you don't want to send a Word document because everybody's printer is different and it's going to make things format differently. Once again, if you can get this down to 3 lines maximum, that would be great. Document at 20 plus. Okay, so you did this, and what did that result in? You know, what's the so what? Just play the so what game here. You facilitated, implemented pilot feedback from 5 partners and their end users, resulting in something. You know, tell us what it was. You know, onboarding, offboarding 1,000 users. Okay, that is a good one as is, because it tells me that, you know, you had all this stuff to do. Conduct platform functionality. Okay, so resulting in their promotion to new jobs, you know, give us that so what. I think it's really, really important to tell us, to give us more detail here. As a Gallup strength finder, you know, I think you're only going to talk about those things that are relevant to the job description. If they don't talk about the job description, you're not going to bring it up. Do this over here. You know, once again, lots of so what information would be wonderful. So this is a little confusing here, 2013 to present, but yet it's not your current. Here's 2022, that's fine. And then 2014 to 2022. So I get a little confused here when you have this present one not really up higher. That would confuse me a little bit.
So
I know
Jeff,
it's sort of
that's my side hustle.
side hustle. Okay. So you wouldn't put that on a resume unless it was part of the, unless it was something they were looking for.
Okay.
You know, I mean, you want to make sure that these dates are sort of consistent all the way down. And these dates too, they can be in bold. I mean, you can, you know, this whole first line can be in bold if you want it to, you know, to make it stand out a little bit. So let's see, additional positions. I like prior relevant experience a little bit better. You don't really need to list. You don't need to really list where it's at. I mean, I understand you're doing this because you know, you're trying to show the size of the hotel and stuff. That's fine. But you know, all you need is the job title, or the name of the company, job title, and the date. That's all you really need to have. And then I Bachelor of Education, Gallup strength, great. Top 5 strengths. That's fine for those people who want to list that on there. That's great. You just have to remember that if you do this, some people are not going to know, well, I mean, what is an input? You're not going to realize with it, you know, especially here, what's a woo? Woohoo, you're a woo, but you know, you've got to make sure that you're able to explain to somebody else what that is. What is Strength Finders? Well, what's this woo thing? What's that mean? So as long as you're, put it on there, as long as you're able to identify that. Personally, I like to have this kind of stuff on my LinkedIn profile more than my resume, because these words are not going to match anything on a job description. They're not going to say in a job description, I'm looking for a relator, activator, and achiever. That's not going to happen. So from a keyword search, this is great on LinkedIn. I don't know if I'd list it on my resume. Affiliations.
Volunteer work.
You know, I mean, I don't know. I don't know if maybe it goes on a resume that you're giving to the hiring manager, but I don't know if this would be a resume that I would use. I don't know if I would include this when I was just submitting something to an ATS system, because this isn't going to match. This is never going to be in a job description. Remember, we're finally trying to talk here about resumes for an ATS system. The ATS system, the job description, it's all keyword match. Okay. And if, you know, you have 1,000 letters on your 1,000 characters on your resume, and you can match 20%, which I think would be pretty good on a resume, you'll get a lot of keyword matching there. But, you know, if you have all this extra stuff on there, you're diluting the strength of your resume that you're applying online. This would probably be, like I said, fine if you're turning it into somebody, but I don't think a recruiter would care to see this. I don't think if you're applying for a recruiting firm or something, an online recruiter, you know, outside recruiting firm, I don't know if it would make any difference to them or whatever. So, I mean, this has got a lot of good stuff in here. So here, decreased operational cost. Okay. So got the result in here. This is great. You know, you're telling me how many programs, you're giving me some details, which is really, really important because I need to know that you can do what I need you to do. So good job. I really like this. Let me put in the chat window right here. Give me just a second. And we'll put everybody in the chat window, our sample resume. Let's see here. So there's a sample resume. So that's what I do. Any questions anybody has? Hopefully everybody's got something that you can take away from this. Hopefully you'll take away one or two things and apply this in your job search next week. Any questions, comments? All right, let me share a few screens and we will get out of here today. Thank you for being with us. Let's see here. Let me get to where I'm going. All right, so in 2 weeks, we got a great speaker. Rick Gillis will be with us. He's got 20 plus years in the job search and career advancement, helping thousands of different clients. I saw a presentation he gave a few weeks ago, and I really thought it was really interesting. And it's a different kind of view on what your resume should look like. And he talks about, you know, every bullet point should be what you did, resulting in, and an answer. And I really sort of like that. So his presentation will be with us in 2 weeks. Come join us. It'll be very, very interesting. If you'd like to get a sample, if you were not able to download the resume, the one-page bio, I also have a sample T cover letter. If you'd like to get that, you can send an email to resume@careerdfw.org. Let me know what you're looking for, and I will get those documents to you. Career DFW and Career USA, we're putting on training 4 days a week. Please join us. Tomorrow morning, we're going to do open forum at the North Dallas Plano Career Focus Group meeting. The group is meeting in person, so if you live in the Dallas-Fort Worth area, please come join us. Otherwise, you can join us on Zoom or Facebook Live. Bring your questions, bring your suggestions, comments you have, questions about resumes, comments about job search. Oh, you know, what do I think the job market's doing? We'll have new unemployment numbers tomorrow morning. So we'll have a good idea of where things are heading. I know that the job ads on Wednesday were way up. We'll talk about all that tomorrow morning at 9:30. Next Tuesday, our presentation about LinkedIn Tuesday will be with Locke Alderson. He will talk about how to use LinkedIn for job hunting strategies that get results. On Wednesday, the practice interview team will be meeting in person on the first and third Wednesday of the month. And meet in person only. You'll be able to come watch an actual practice interview. Our next online session will be, and I think I got those dates backwards there. No, that's right. The next online session will be on 6/14. So next Wednesday is the 7th. So come join us next Wednesday in person. They meet at Christ United Methodist Church, 3101 Coit Road in Plano, Texas. That information will go into an email that you'll get next Wednesday morning. On Thursday, we will talk all about networking. Every session, we've got a different speaker talking about networking. Come join us. It's always very, very interesting. Networking is how you're going to find your next job. 75 to 80% of jobs are found through networking. So how do you do it? It's basically the same, but everybody has their own little hints on how they think you should look at it. This session has been recorded. It will be on the Career DFW Facebook page and the Career USA YouTube channel. On the Career USA YouTube channel, we have over 500 videos currently there. Click on playlist. Every video I upload goes into one of 7 different playlists. And then down below, pick the playlist you want. And down where you see that red arrow, click on View Full Playlist. And then up will come a list of the dates and who the speaker was and what their topic was. And you can hear their presentation. If you're not receiving emails about our workshops, please join the Career USA mailing list. You can scan the QR code over on the right-hand side, or send us an email to careerusa, the + subscribe at groups.io. You'll never be spammed, but what you will get every day is the topic of the day, the title of the topic of the day, and most importantly, the Zoom link. That way you can click on the Zoom link and you can join our session. Remember, Career FW, we're a 501c3 nonprofit organization. Everything I've ever done, everything I've done over the last 14 and a half years has just been to help you land your next great opportunity. So thank you very much for joining us today, everybody. Have a great afternoon. Have a great Thursday. And we look forward to seeing you tomorrow morning. If not, we'll look forward to seeing you one day next week.